at the beginning. For these best of fives in the playoff round, have to use one of their decks to be discarded at the beginning of each of the best of five sets that they're going to play. So they will have 4 decks to choose from in the play. 4 decks to choose from. So that's a little bit of a shakeup. But I know you said you don't have much experience with these players, because a lot of these players that are in this tournament right now are players that win like the smaller cups, players that are on teams that may win like the Zotac Cups or the NASL Cups, which don't really get broadcasted. So it's from what you've seen so far, what do you think of these 4 players going into the playoff stage? Dart, Cass, Wampie, and Firebat. Do you know much about any of these players?
I think Firebat I've played against a couple times on ladder. Dart I've seen play. I mean, I just watched his games. He did, so yeah, Dart played well. Seems like he deserves to be there. And yeah, there's a few players that I don't know. I'm not really sure what to think, but I mean, clearly they all advanced 3-0, right? So
all 4 players that are going into the playoffs won all 3 of their matches. So
cool. Yeah, there sounds like there's pretty convincing victories then. Yeah, sounds good. I mean. I wish we could have seen them, but yeah.
Hopefully in the future we'll be able to broadcast more of the group stage games. But in order for to make it so this wasn't a 12-hour broadcast on the first day.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting format too here in Hearth Wars. It's best of 3, which it has its advantages and disadvantages, but it's 5 decks for a best of 3, which is really cool, because it's like it's so different, because when you're playing a best of 3 with only 3 decks, basically one of them never sees play. You're usually playing with the same 2 decks. You have like one opener that you prefer, and then if you lose game 1, you play the other deck. But in a best of, like, when you have 5 to choose from, that first win means a lot more, I think, because it's easier to counter your opponent's deck once you're up game 1. So I think that a strong pattern between these 4 players that advances, I'm sure that all 4 of them have a really strong opening deck. Like just really well-rounded deck that's getting them a lot of game 1 wins. But yeah.
Well, this is going to be, like I said, moving into the semifinals. It is the best of 5 format. They only have 4 decks to choose from, so it's going to be a little tougher to hold on to that momentum. There's been some of the other online best of 5 tournaments that have been run. We see a lot of players opening with, it's a little bit of a different strategy going into best of 3. In the best of 3, you want a deck that you can get those 2 quick wins with and get the momentum. And I think in a best of 5, players tend to gravitate more towards really, really safe deck picks. And most of the best of 5s that I've seen across a lot of tournaments is always Druid as the first deck pick. I think in the ESL America, the NASL King of the Hill Cup, it's something ridiculous. Like in the final, 70% of players choose the Druid as their first deck. Why do you think that is? Why do you think players in best of 5 seem to always gravitate towards Druid decks as the first pick? Is it just because it's consistency against most matchups?
It's a very safe deck. It's good against most things. Its bad matchups aren't horrible or unwinnable. It's just when you're playing a best of 5, your opponent submitted a ton of decks. In theory, they could open with anything. So you want a deck that's not just going to auto lose to a certain matchup because you picked wrong. If you pick something like Handlock, for example, to open with, if you run into a deck that's like Shaman or Hunter randomly game 1, or Double Force of Nature Druid, you put yourself in a situation where you're down a game and then your opponent has serve, so then they're countering your pick every single game throughout the rest of the best of 5. And that's how you end up losing 2 to 3 a lot. So yeah, that first game is really important, whether it's a best of 3 or a best of 5, and Druid's just a pretty safe pick, I think, in either one.
Okay. So we're getting words from the admin. We're just getting the players set. Like we said, we have to take the feed from both player streams, sync them up for the semifinals. But like I said, the first match will be Wampie versus Firebat. That's going to be the first semifinal match that we're going to be broadcasting. Again, all 4 players that are going to be in the playoff stage went 3-0 in their group. So pretty definitive victories. For them. Dart, also one of the players he'll be playing his semifinal simultaneously from the one we're broadcasting just off stream. We saw him win with the Shaman deck, and against Garros Hunter, he had some clutch draws at the end. He said the Doom Hammer into double Rockbiter draw right after the other, 3 draws in a row. So that was a pretty good play by him. But this is a good showing from Team Good Guy, I'd like to point out. Dart and Firebat both players from representing Team Good Guy in this matchup did make it to the playoff stage. So that's really great for them. We've seen some action from them across other tournaments. They place high in a lot of tournaments. They play in literally everything. I see their names all over the place, plastered over all the smaller cups, the Zotac, the NESL Sunday Cups. So it's nice to see that these not lesser known players, but players that don't get invited to those huge tournaments like DreamHack are actually starting to make a name for themselves.
Yeah, definitely. It's good that those online cups exist. I've played in a few myself. They're really well run, smooth. Like, if any of you guys watching are interested in getting more into the competitive side, I recommend you check out like Zotac Cup, NESL, Gosu Cup, I believe, runs one as well. And there's one more I'm forgetting. But yeah, a lot of those seed into BlizzCon, even like bigger tournaments like that. So yeah, if you're good at best of threes, those tournaments are definitely something to check out. Very fun, very actually surprisingly fast too.
Yeah, they go really quickly. Most of them are like best of threes, and it basically does it by your BattleNet tag. So it lines you up with a match. You add a BattleNet tag. You play in your best of three. You upload screenshots, which Hearth makes it easy because it saves the screenshot right to your desktop, and then you move on to your next match. So pretty fun, but it's frustrating when you can switch decks. So when you play in those matches, and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm playing against a rank 16, and then he plays a zoo and gets crazy draws early on. You lose 2 matches in a row because that hurts. But
yeah, well, they all have different rules. It's actually really interesting. Like, different rules change how the game should be played so much. Like in Zotac Cup, I think you're allowed to remake your deck. So if you win game 1, your opponent picks a deck, right? Let's say to counter you, and he beats you. You can end the match, go into your collection, build a 30-card counter deck, and then he's forced to play the same deck by the rules. But you can play your double big game hunter Black Knight Shaman deck against Handlock with 2 Lava Bursts and Leroy combo and Leper Gnome.
Yeah.
You just have to know the rules in every tournament, because it is very different.
Alrighty, well, looks like we are jumping into the first game of this best of 5 between Firebat and Wampie. This semifinals. There are 4 players remaining. Firebat is going to be going with the Shaman, and Wampie is going to be going with the Druid. Okay.
Was Firebat on Team Good Guy or
Team Good Guy? Yeah. So it looks like the Dart and Firebat both leaning towards that Shaman pick.
Yeah, I know. The current rank 1 in NA, Grindstone, plays almost exclusively Shaman, so must mean it's in a pretty good spot right now.
He has a Mana Wraith in his starting hand.
Get you. The hard counter to Wild Growth. It's definitely not a bad card. They nerfed it really early on the beta, unfortunately. It used to be a 1/3 instead of a 2/2. And a little bit disappointing, but it is one of those cards that's a little bit unfun for your opponent sometimes. I can see why they wanted to tone it down a bit.
We are having a little bit of issue with one of the streams, so we should get that fixed. You'll see the Druid hand is appearing on both hands now. That was indeed a Mana Wraith that I saw, though, so don't be fooled. That is not a Druid versus Druid matchup. He's going to go ahead and drop the Argent Squire right on there. You can see it. Or actually, he got rid of that. Nope, there it is. He laid it down. Okay.
Yeah, Mana Wraith's pretty good against Harvest Golem, actually, too. Interrupts that on curve. But, yeah, it's going to be a pretty easy Wrath turn.
Yeah. It's good in theory, but if they draw Wrath early on, that's going to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an anti-Wild Growth.
Yeah, Shaman's a deck that I always find it so difficult to fit cards in that I want to play, because there's something like 22 of them you're kind of forced to play because they're just the best options.
Yeah.
So it looks like just a hero power turn from Firebat here, if I'm not mistaken.
The only other option would be to coin Argus, but that doesn't seem very good at this point in the game.
So Wampie didn't have Wild Growth this game or Harvest Golem, but he has a pretty good curve from here on out. He's got the nice solid 4, 5, 6 that you look for in the mid game as the Druid player. No, he's just going to choose a defender there. That's really interesting. That's an aggressive play. I guess it makes sense, though. He's expecting a Yeti on this turn, so this will let him use one of his 3 damage cards along with the 2-power minion to finish off the the Yeti / Senjin, and hero power the turn after, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess that's not too bad of a turn.
Yeah, I mean, you can still do that anyway, though, if you save the coin. I don't know. This opens him up to drawing a 4-drop, I suppose, as well. Oh, wow, that Mana Tide is such a good draw. Now I guess to trade Defender, Bolt. So he's overloaded on turn 5, so he'll still be able to play Fire Elemental on time. And now that Mana Tide's protected. And he already knows that Wampie used the Wrath, so it's really likely that that Mana Tide survives. I mean, for Wampie here, do you swipe to prevent that draw time? Or I'm pretty sure you have to develop the board further, right? So just like charge Druid Claw, maybe?
Yeah, it's a really awkward, I think, to use that swipe here. He wants it. You can see him hovering over it, but you're just gonna. I don't know. It doesn't seem like
it sucks to. It's brutal when they get another card. You're basically giving them an Arcane Intellect that also gains them 3 life later on. But yeah, I agree with the play he just made there, Druid Claw. That's got to be better.
Yeah. He's gonna get 1 additional card draw if he doesn't clear this right away. Like you said, he knows he's loaded, so he knows that Fire Elemental is not that great of a turn. He used one of the Lightning Bolts. Odds are he's not going to have too much options as far as removal goes for that turn. So he'd be able, in theory, he knows he'll be able to at least clear that Mana Tide off the next turn. So 1 additional card draw to actually put something on the board, I think, is quite a bit better of a solution, especially since there would have been a 2-1 taunted up Argon Squire still on the board.
It's worth noting that like that 1/1 is usually the opposite of what you want to see against Druid, because it does die to swipe Druid hero power. But in this case, where Wampie's play is Argent Commander, and that's the best way of dealing with Mana Tide Totem, that 1/1 is actually fantastic. It just traded for an Innervate. It's little subtle differences in Totem RNG really do make the difference in the tempo of a game in a lot of cases.
Yeah. This is awkward.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. I'd play Fire Elemental. Pop the bubble. It's not pretty, but you can't hex and do nothing, I don't think.
Yeah. And I guess that sets up an awkward turn for Wampie next turn as well, because pops the bubble, still has to find a way to deal 1 damage to that Fire Elemental, which using that hero power still has options with the hero power. You can lay this engine or lay the Harvest Column if he decides to completely take out that Fire Elemental. It looks like he's going to opt to go for the Gnomish Inventor, though. See what he draws. All right, Feral Spirit.
You just got to let it live.
Well, this is a little better way to pop the bubble, I guess, before setting up the Fire Elemental, if that Gnomish Inventor lives from other sources.
Yeah, this is the better play in terms of value over the course of a longer game. Personally, I like to try not to fall too far behind a Druid deck. It is pretty aggressive, the ones with Argent Commander. They do play double force combo. I mean, if they have a creature in play, they're basically threatening lethal when you're shocks this draw. Wow, that's so good. Yeah, that lets him develop the board with an incredibly relevant creature and deal with Argent Commander all at once.
That's the nightmare when you throw out an Argent Commander on the board, is seeing a spell power or shock. It's like you're right, the perfect card to deal with it in that situation.
Ask for it a little though. He could have just attacked the Gnomish Inventor. Instead, he decided to swipe to preserve the ball. Worse against spell power or shock. It was also worse against hex. A double Savage Roar awkwardness. This does happen occasionally.
Yeah. I'm trying to check real quick. I've seen a lot of Druid decks that run double Savage Roar, but only one of the Force of Nature, and go with a second tech card. I'm trying to check real quick what Wampie actually does here. No, it looks like he runs double combo regardless. So very situational cards in hand. Black Knight, not that great. I guess he get a little bit of value with the Feral Spirit, since he knows that he's already used the Defender of Argus. But the Savage Roar will be sitting dead in his hand for maybe some time. Feels weird to use those just for better trades, but I guess it works. All right, there's the Feral Spirit. Gonna come out. Black Knight's going to be happening. All right, there it is.
Yep, it's in a pretty good spot. Some taunts developing. It's going to be pretty tough to die to force combo at this point.
All right, so he uses the Savage Roar just to get the board clear a little bit. Clear off the second Feral Spirit, clear off the Stoneclaw Totem. I mean, it's better than nothing because that card's going to be sitting dead. He already has the second one if he needs the combo. So Wampie, though, looking like he's not in the greatest of positions. Firebat seems to have a lot of answers in his hand for whatever Wampie's going to be able to throw out in the next couple of turns. And Innervate is not a card that you want when you don't have many other cards in your hand because depending on his draw next turn, he's really not going to have anything to combo that with it unless he gets an Ancient of Lore soon, gets some card draw happening. It's looking pretty rough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely needs to chain Ancient Lore. It's like from two cards you want to see the most are Ancient Lore and Wild Growth. That's how you get your edge against Shaman. That's how you stay ahead the entire game. Well, that is, I believe, the literal worst card he could have seen. Or no, hold up, he's at 10 mana. My mistake. I thought he was at 9.
If he was at 9, then it would have been the literal worst card that he could have drawn, but at least he's going to get something out of this.
Mm-hmm. Well, you get a little bit more Savage Roar value with that Frog. Shoot the Azure Drake for 2, Savage Roar, Frog into the Taunt Totem, into Azure Drake. You take some damage, but you get to keep the Frog this way. Also, you get to keep both halves of Harvest Golem.
MVP Frog. It looks like that's the play he's going to make. That's going to leave him with virtually an empty hand. But, I mean, at this point, he's just got to sort of stop the bleeding and try and keep a board presence somewhat and hope he draws into the Ancient of Lore. So hopefully next turn is pretty much when he's going to need it. And there's the play. What does Firebat do in this situation?
I mean, he's up so many cards, just a bit behind on board. I think you just try to... I guess you Fire Elemental the 2/4, Lightning Bolt to finish it off. I mean, it's not pretty. He could see if he gets Spell Power Totem to begin with. That's probably where you start.
Alrighty, welcome back, everyone. Sorry for the delays. Hopefully the sound quality is a little bit better now. We restarted the Skype, so...
Testing. 1, 2.
I think it sounds good. It's better.
Nice.
Thank the lords of Skype Arena. But anyways, we are just about to jump into game number 2 between Wampie and Firebat. So... Firebat did take game 1 with the Shaman deck over Wampie's Druid, so we'll have to see what Wampie decides to go with. You mentioned earlier that Hunter is a good call as far as matchups go against the Shaman pick, but even Dartman should take the game over Gara with that. He had some good draws, and Gara didn't have that great of an opening hand, but do you still think Hunter's the way to go?
I mean, it's favored. It's all about whether you can put together Buzzard plus Unleash. If you do, the Shaman deck almost can't win, but you have, like... The Hunter player has to know that is how you win the game, and they can't be keeping any cards that aren't tracking Buzzard or Unleash the Hounds, in my opinion.
Okay.
Like, you'll take Bow, it kills Feral Spirit, you can keep that. Maybe Animal Companion, so you have an early play. But like something like Leper Gnome even, I probably wouldn't even keep in my opening hand, unless I was going first against... Yeah, even then. It makes the removal matter. You just want to look for Buzzard combo.
Okay. Well, I can imagine taking a look at Wampie's decks here. He actually does have a Hunter listed. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure which of the decks was the ones that he discarded. I'm sure if you did a little bit of research and watched the games that Dart did play, Team Good Guy, looking like they're going with the Shaman. So we are jumping into the match. We'll see, and it is going to be a Hunter. So it's going to be Wampie's Hunter versus Firebat Shaman. Firebat is up 1-0. We'll see if he can defend with this Shaman deck.
All right, so yeah, here you keep the Unleash, put back the other 3. Yeah.
He kept the Wolf Rider too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you disappointed in his choice?
They always do, man. Like I don't know. Everyone plays Hearthstone so differently than me. It's not just Wampie or like Firebat. It's all my teammates. I don't know. We all agree and disagree on certain things. It's not right or wrong, I don't think, but
just different.
Yeah.
Okay. Those the Abuse Sergeant out there. Just going to get a body on the board. Not going to make use of the battle cry effect, but it's a totem killer.
Absolutely. Force him to have removal there. All right. Going to stick around. The Lightning Storm's going to put in some work. So yeah, going to kill Totem, deal 3. Lightning Storm's going to happen. And then the Shaman's going to just hero power on turn 4 because he'll be overloaded for 2. But he also do that anyway because of the Defender of Argus in his hand. So I think for Wampie, it'll just come down to, does he draw Buzzard around turn 5? Everyone's Hunter deck is so different right now. It's tough to really predict what's in there.
Yeah, there's even some...
Whoa.
Oh, hello. You think that's the right call? Or do you think there's a lot better targets to Earthshock than a Wolf Rider?
There aren't better targets, but, like, you're not really going to have a good turn to Lightning Storm after that point. You can't really ask for them to have more than that to Lightning Storm, And turn 4 would have been a pretty good turn to Overload. So, personally, I would have Lightning Storm there, but... because, hero powering and Earthshocking doesn't accomplish anything, because you're just giving your opponent the option to just kill your totem anyway.
Yeah.
In which case, you spent 3 mana killing a Wolf Rider. You know what I mean? So, and gaining 2 life, I suppose. But Lightning Storm would have done that too. He's going to set up the Defender on just 1 creature. So that's a really interesting choice. Whenever I play against Hunter, I try to be really careful so that always buffs 2 of my creatures, but he's playing it more aggressively. It makes more sense now, like the Earthshock play. He really wanted to play a Defender of Argus on curve.
And since he used it, it's only 1 creature, but since he used it on the healing totem, it's going to keep itself healthy. So it's not like he can just, like, as long as he doesn't choose to attack in this situation, he's still going to be able to keep this healing totem alive. If that's an explosive trap, that's if he waits and doesn't attack on this turn.
Not sure why this is being played first. I guess the player on misdirection a bit. Oh, okay. I thought he was going to attack for a second. Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense. Mana Tide pass. Solid play. So yeah, at this point, Wampie's still looking for that Buzzard. He has half the combo, but... let's see if Flare can get him closer.
He's actually just going to straight up use it right now. No Buzzard combo. Oh, he's thinking about it.
But I think you have to Flare, right? Like you Flare, you draw Tracking or Buzzard, and just go from there.
Yeah, using Unleash here, just...
How do you win at that point?
You're going to kill a healing totem with an Unleash? That doesn't seem like a very good play, unless he goes for the Hunter's Mark as well, which I guess could
Maybe
be. But
cut Buzzard.
Let me take a look.
If he doesn't play Buzzard, it makes more sense to aggressively use your Unleash.
No, he's got 2 Buzzards in this deck.
All right, I'd probably hold on to it then. Oh my god. Well. Yeah. So now he's just all in on face for the rest of the game. If there's any justice in the world, Buzzard is the card on top of his deck. But it's a fine play, actually. His hand has a lot of damage, and he just wants to try to maximize that.
As weird as it sounds, that could end up being the safe play if he doesn't draw into a buzzard.
That's true.
Then he'll just have Unleash the Hound in his hands, at which point the board could get out of control if he continues to wait for it. I don't know. It just seems... It seems a little weird using Unleash just to get 2 damage on its face and kill a healing totem, especially since he used the Hunter's Mark as well. But...
I mean, you know, if he sees another kill command, maybe a Leroy. I mean, he knows that the Shaman has already played 1 defender, right? Like, Firebat's down 1 defender Vargas. So, there's not too many more taunts you have to go through unless he ends up drawing Feral Spirit. Which is probably unlikely for him to have. Well, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if he would have played Feral Spirit over Mana Tide or something, but... Yeah, at this stage of the game, it's just a matter of, can the Shaman deck kill the Hunter before the Hunter draws enough damage to finish him off?
They're both racing against the clock here. Oh, it breaks out the Doomhammer.
I like it.
I think it's a pretty safe, not necessarily safe, but it's good to get this going when there's not really big threats on the board. He's only going to take 2 extra damage from that. It sets him up with the Doomhammer. Now he has the double Rockbiter as well, so that's a lot of burst. What is it with Team Good Guy getting Doomhammer double Rockbiter in their first like 12 cards?
Professional Shaman play, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, it's not even good in every matchup. That's the thing. It's like it is strong against decks like Hunter where you have to race, but yeah, the Shaman deck is just really consistent in what it does. It'll have some way to present a clock that kills the opponent on pretty much the same turn every game.
Yep.
I wonder.
Yeah, this doesn't look too bad for Wampie, or Firebat's in it too. It's honestly, this game can definitely go either way. I actually kind of like the Hunter spot more in this case. He's got some damage, not too much pressure coming out from the Shaman deck at the moment, so it's looking. I think it favors Wampie at this stage.
He does have the Misdirect as well, which can protect him against some of the Doomhammer burst.
Yeah.
Because if you commit to the double Rockbite onto the Doomhammer, you can't commit to that at all unless you have some way to check what trap that is with something else, like a different creature or something.
It's actually going to take quite a bit of... Yeah, I'm trying to figure out like how he wins this game. Okay, so he acknowledges that it's misdirection, plays around it pretty well. Or he's playing around misdirection by trading off first. Okay. Explosive Trap, not the end of the world, but yeah, I mean, 9 life against Kill Command, Explosive Trap, Hero Power. He basically has to kill the Hunter next turn. I just don't see it happening.
Tracking.
Yeah.
Pick and choose how he's going to finish Firebat off at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, Kill Command's not bad, I suppose. There's Boar Lethal. No, it's not. 1 short. You still Boar though, I think.
Yeah. He can even just Boar Explosive Trap. Boar Kill Command Explosive. No. Yeah, because that would set up a Hero Power win for the next turn.
I think you just Hero Power instead of Explosive Trap. At this point, the way he loses is like Earthen Ring Farseer, which I suppose he's considering playing around.
Oh, he goes for the second Kill Command. Okay. What the heck? He just throws up both traps.
Yeah, not a bad play. I mean, like, either way you have lethal, right? It doesn't matter if your opponent's at 1 or 7. Either way they gain life or they die.
Yeah, he's just making sure that he doesn't die this turn. I don't think it was possible at all, no matter what cards he had in his hand. Trying to find an answer, but Feral Spirit's not going to do it.
Drop some taunts, some damage, and That'll do it. So this ties it up 1-1, right? And we're in best of 5 currently?
Yes.
Cool. So since Firebat has serve, he won that first game, and Wampie picked a counter. Firebat has a distinct advantage here because he'll be countering Wampie's decks and being 1 win ahead the whole time until he gets that third win, in theory. So at some point, Wampie is going to have to win 2 in a row with one of these decks to come back. And I feel like Hunter's a pretty easy deck to counter. You know, assuming you have access to a slower deck, maybe like Warrior or Druid. But yeah, you know, we'll see.
Yeah, it's a little bit interesting because a lot of times I will see when I watch these best of 5 matchups that usually the second deck that a player picks is the deck that they have the most success with. And it's weird because we saw this Hunter, and Hunter is a deck, in theory, like you said, easy to counter, but a lot of the times they can just get crazy draws early on and put out an amount of pressure that you just can't deal with. And we actually saw it earlier on today with, was it Admirable? I can't remember, where a Hunter deck just...
Admirable got wrecked by Paladin.
Paladin. What was it? We saw a Hunter deck earlier today.
Tides?
Oh yeah, Tides. Yeah. Did Tides win with this Hunter deck?
Yep, 2-0.
Yeah, so he lost the first round, countered the second round, and then Duckwing Face actually brought out the Priest to try and counter his Hunter, and he just blew right through the Priest as well. So Hunter is that volatile matchup, and even Dart, when Dart won King of the Hill with Hunter the last week, he was down 0-2 in the first round and then won 6 games in a row with Hunter. Everybody was throwing counter after counter after counter at him, and he just won 6 games in a row with Hunter. So it's such a volatile class to play, and I think you can pull out, even against your hardest counter, there's some games where you can just miraculously pull out wins because of how much pure damage you can just put out.
You should call it Miracle Hunter.
Miracle. Every card is a miracle. You're not just reliant.
Yeah, it's a good deck, definitely. Just a nice, consistent, proactive strategy. We'll beat a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man, that healing touch though. Yeah, I mean that Unleash the Hounds is either going to be the card that wins him this game, or it's going to rot in his hand the entire time. It's actually like surprising to me how rarely people have drawn Buzzard plus Unleash so far in these games. It used to be that you mulligan aggressively for it, but yeah, at least in these games that we've seen, hasn't happened yet.
When Blizzard nerfed Unleash the Hounds, they actually stealth nerfed Starving Buzzard to make it so it's never in your first 10 cards. You heard it here first.
Do bow. I guess you hit. I think you attack the 2/4. Or not. Oh, it doesn't even matter. Because, yeah, next turn you can attack the 2/4 and then play the second bow and then play Explosive Trap. Either way, that sets stuff up pretty well for him.
Yeah. He's put out a lot of damage early on. This is quite a bit of pressure from Wampie's Hunter. He's already at 19 health going into turn 5. He's got a pretty good setup with double bow, so that's not the charges from that aren't going to run any tune. And there's the Buzzard.
Oh man, here it comes, straight to face. I like it. Not a care in the world. Yeah, I mean, Defender of Argus is pretty rare in Druid decks these days, so just ignoring the 2-power creatures that are impossible to kill seems like the best strategy here.
I guess he could be worried about this is a Druid of the Claw, but even then, with Buzzard Unleash, there's not the greatest chance in the world, but there's a chance he could draw into Hunter's Mark or a couple things that he could be able to do with that Druid of the Claw anyway. And I think that's the only taunt that Firebat actually runs in this Druid deck. Indeed it is.
That healing touch though, best card in the deck.
Well, this is going to be quite a bit of cards drawn here. He's going to be out the board to top it all off. If he doesn't get another 1 mana, he can just draw an extra card. Well, there's a Hunter's Mark.
Get in there and fight, maggot.
That's a good card too. All right.
Absolutely.
More damage to the face.
Yep. Getcha. Yeah, 3 charges on bow. That is just... Oh, it's brutal. It's a Pyroblast for 3.
a very slow-moving Power Blast. It's a Power Blast that
Absolutely.
when you cast it, it takes 3 turns to get to the opponent's face. But it comes in chunks.
Yeah, the Druid deck does have a pretty aggressive draw, though. You know, a couple swipes. It's, The Hunter deck is a ways off from having lethal. I could easily see the Druid deck just racing this. He has Healing Touch. Generally, the Druid decks with Healing Touch don't play the Force of Nature combo. I'm assuming it's more of a ramp deck.
Yeah, or at least I think he plays it, just he only plays 1.
Oh, okay. So, that's going to give the Hunter deck a lot more time, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, develop Yeti. It's, is he threatening lethal next turn? 14. Yeah, he is. Yeah, the Druid deck's threatening lethal next turn. So, if Wampie doesn't answer one of these creatures this turn, a Deadly Shot needs to hit the Keeper or the 4/5.
He's praying for the Yeti. Well, second best target, I guess.
Yeah. Face Hero Power. I think you gotta save Boar for Kill Command, even though it's not pretty. All right, so
what? Okay, so with the swipe, that would be 8, 9, 10. No,
yeah, it's not lethal, but it's like too short. But the thing here is Wampie's gonna have to top deck basically this turn. I think Leroy does. Well, does Leroy? Yeah, Leroy does it.